Anyway, so let's go quickly through the opening of this game. Bologan versus Caruana from Reggio Emilia in 2009, the year that I learned how to play chess. Um, I seem to recollect that there's some kind of theory going on here that bishop takes a5 is plus minus. I don't remember it distinctly though, but I think it has to do with deflecting this knight. You take here, and after king takes, there's queen takes, and they have to either play king takes and meet something like bishop d5. Yeah, that's right. And if they take with the knight, they just lose this. I'm actually glad I looked at the opening of this game because that's not in the book, and I had forgotten about that interesting idea. Anyway, um, so let's go forward to the point where there's a material imbalance. All right, so two minor pieces. All right, so this is the start diagram. Here, white had played queen c2, and let's see what our home dog John Nunn had to say. All right, so he said white is far from lost. A crucial factor is whether his bishop can develop any activity. So c4 is what was played, and that was the same move that I chose. The move's a little double-edged because it also gives up the d4 square for the knight. But since the e3 pawn is kind of weak, I don't think it's a major concern. So they played bishop a2, rook a d8. It's the same as what I did. Rook e1. Hold on, is that different? Yeah, Chess Kudo, they did play bishop to b1, at least in the game I played against the engine. Let me see. Oh yeah, good to see you. And so soon. Um, Let me go back and see. I'm just gonna follow along in how I played. So they did queen c2, c4, bishop a2, rook e. I played rook f e8. I'm pretty sure they did the same thing. All right, so actually in the game they played rook a d8 first, and then rook f e8, but it ends up transposing. And then e4 is what Bologan played. In my game with the computer, they played bishop b1. They didn't play e4. So in this position, the computer chose bishop b1, which was more forcing. And it looks like people have analyzed this position. I have live book open, and it shows that people have analyzed g6. Maybe I was a little too ambitious to play rook d3. This is what I chose against the computer. And things ended up going well for me, but they did get some counterplay. If I just flip on the engine here, I don't like flipping on the engine, but I will. It's showing straight zeros after b3. This move. So after g6, what's the deal here? If I check the engine, it'll say that e4 is also completely zeros. So that's interesting because I don't think John Nunn even mentions this bishop b1 thing. Let's take a look. All right. Actually, he gives a line like what I played. He said that rook f e8 was an inaccuracy in the game. This move was an inaccuracy because it gives the chance for white to develop some activity. And he said that rook d3, bishop b1, rook f d8 is superior. So basically, doubling on the rook, the d file seems like Nunn's prescription. I thought doubling on the weak pawn made more sense. Chess Kudo says that white probably wants to push the pawn to e6 to make g6 very weak. That's true, but how could they ever make it to e6? It seems like such an unlikely journey. They'd probably get checkmated on the way. But I think there's another aspect of this which makes a lot of sense, and it's that this pawn is really weak long term. So we don't need to pile up on it to target this pawn. Um, because it's just going to be weak for the whole game. What do we have to collect it for? Probably I was a little too eager to gather a pawn. And it looks like Caruana might have been as well. Anyway, so rook e8 and then e4. But e4 is definitely a mistake. And John Nunn acknowledges this. He says that he intends to activate his bishop by playing b3, but he can't do it immediately because b3 loses to c3. For example, well, not for example, but just to demonstrate, he says that c3 keeps the bishop locked, and after a move like knight f1, what will they play? Bishop takes f3. Winning material, weakening white's king. Yeah, this seems pretty good for black. So e4 is his preparation. He wants to avoid bishop f3. Okay, that makes sense. So he says that instead white should have played. I'm sure he gives some improvement here. 1 second. Yeah, he suggests 28 bishop b1 right here. The same move that we said was equal, and the same move that the computer played. So probably e4 is the critical error, because after this it's no longer equal. After this, rook d3 is played, the same move that I chose a little bit earlier. And then b3, he gives it a question mark. And his explanation is the logical follow-up to white's previous move, but bishop b1 is still the correct idea, although it is less effective than a move earlier as the e4 pawn blocks the bishop to h7. That makes sense, but if you put the bishop on b1, the e pawn, it should eventually be able to go. Like, how is black going to prevent e5? It should eventually regain its powerful capacity, so I agree completely. b3 is a little silly. Rook e d8, and this is basically the same position that we were analyzing as black's best play, but a little bit delayed. So here knight f1 is what he did. He said taking on c4 is no better, even though it's a free pawn, because black has a strong attack after rook c3. I wonder if there are any other cool tactics here. I actually just spotted something. I think you can play rook takes d2 here. I don't know if this is winning, but this is kind of cool, because if they play knight takes d2, you can play queen d4 check. And after something like king f1, you can take on d2. I don't think rook c3 is losing. This move looks really good, though. I just like this endgame. You know, they have to move their bishop somewhere, I imagine, because if they play rook e2, I think we just can play rook d1 and then take on c4, something like that. Like, and then rook d4 again, winning this pawn or something like that. This just looks like a good endgame, but maybe it's a little too simplified. But yeah, rook c3 was given. I don't think it's losing, though, because the queen's guarding it, right? What did you think the follow-up would be, Chess Kudo? Were you thinking like queen b2? John Nunn gives a note for queen b2. He says that it's followed by rook takes f3. And then after e5, just queen g5. Oh, I thought you said rook c3 was losing for black, like it was a blunder. But yeah, I agree. I see what you mean now. Yeah, this position is definitely hideous after rook c3. So knight f1 makes a lot more sense. Vologon is a strong player. I've met him, and he's also a nice guy. He has pretty good chess sense. All right, where was I on the page? Reading a PDF is sometimes a dizzying experience. All right, so rook c3, queen b1, rook d3. This is starting to look like a Shang-Chi game where the rooks are flying in through all the open lines. And then there's b takes c4 and rook takes f3. Exclamation point. I think that this is kind of like the same as what I was trying to execute in my game against Fritz, but much more precise. Because white is totally passive here. And black still has the same attacking ideas. But it also hinged on white playing e4 and not bishop b1, so I really couldn't have forced it. I think a draw was probably the logical conclusion. Yeah, doubling rooks always looks good. So here, rook takes f3. G takes, rook takes. I thought queen takes looked good because we're threatening bishop e4. But probably it gives them some kind of counterplay with like rook e3 or queen d1. Queen d1 looks better because they could maybe start attacking the king. Something like this. So I like rook f3. Looks good. So Chess Kudo is saying that instead of playing rook d to d3, we could play rook f3 in the first place. Like here. Like that. I kind of agree. But it does give them some more chance of counterplay. Like maybe they could play queen b2 here, or like knight h2, or something. But this also looks winning. I agree. All right, and then rook e2 is what happened. And rook takes h3. Actually, he gives this a question mark. So maybe before we read what happened, we could just try to figure out why is rook h3 a blunder. This is the first position. They played rook h3. Probably it's a blunder because of some better option being available. What could it be? Because I doubt it's a blunder because it like loses or something. Maybe there's some way of opening this long diagonal. Maybe something like queen g5. Bishop takes e4, I think they can just take in different ways, but queen g5 looks pretty strong. After rook g2, we have queen to c5 check. King to h2, I guess, is good. And then we can play bishop c8. So the threat of rook h3 is even stronger. Okay, so queen b2. It, you're saying queen b2 as is a defense in which position? Because queen g5 is check. It's not happening. Oh, you mean instead of rook e2, like right here? Actually, no, that's not. Without rook e2, you can't play queen b2. So where do you mean, Cheskudo? Maybe there is some kind of queen b2. Queen b2 would forsake the back rank, though. I think there's also an issue, like, let's say that you could play an extra move here. All right, I'm just going to add one extra move. Even if you could play queen b2, they would refuse with rook takes f1. So I think that would be problematic. But rook h3, queen e1. Oh, we should check and see what John Nunn had to say before we go forward. Rook h3, he called it a blunder, and he said queen g5 is the winning move. So that's good. We figured it out. Actually, he gave a different winning line. He said queen g5, rook g2, queen c5 check, king h2, bishop c8. Actually, I guess he just didn't. He went a little bit further because knight g3 is possible. And here he said bishop takes h3. An excellent move. If they take this, we're looking at queen h5 mate. That's pretty nice. So they actually can't take. And he finishes it off with rook g1, bishop g4, rook g2, and h5, intending h4. So this should be decisive. And I agree. It's pretty nice. So rook h3, maybe a little focused on getting this open. Probably some kind of inertia prevented him from finding bishop c8. Or it could be a time pressure thing. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not Carolina. I had just learned chess. This happened in December of 2009. I learned chess in like January of 2009. So definitely couldn't be there. All right, so queen e1, mistake. Pawn takes c4. He gives b4 as a better move because after bishop b1, I think it says rook f3. Yeah, rook f3, knight g3, and g6. It says intending h5, h4. Seems like a very comfortable advantage. Oh, you thought rook h3 is meant by queen b2. Okay, I see. Sorry, I didn't look for a second. So queen b2 in this position, I think they would still play queen g5 or something similar. For example, queen g5, rook g2, queen c5 is still available. If they play queen f2, probably we can play like rook h4, threatening mate. But then there's rook h2 or knight h2, or maybe a queen move like queen d4, so they can run out. Yeah, okay, so let's figure this out. Why rook h3 is no good. It could be queen b2. But what if there's something stronger, like just queen f4? Like, forget about checking the king. It's forcing, but I think the idea of getting bishop takes e4 in makes a lot of sense since queen b2 abandons the e4. They might have to support with bishop b1. And we could try, like, some rook move. Not sure. Yeah, rook g2 threatens mate, but isn't g6 just, like, perfectly good? Um, like, I think this is okay. Is there something here? I think black is just better after g6. They'd still have to play bishop b1. And here we can't play f5 or anything. That would just be wild, but maybe just creep in with h5. Something like that. Yeah, the attack is diminished, but I think it's still a very unpleasant position for white. Definitely black's king is a little more snug. The pawns are generally weaker for white. Probably here we'd have to do something like bishop c6, not h5. Not going to play h5. I meant h5 is like the idea. Like, after I consolidate this, I want to play some kind of pawn advance. I think that makes sense. At any rate, queen b2 would definitely be a better move, so I want to give that exclamation point for my notes. All right, now coming back, this is how the game ended. Queen g5, knight g3, h5, king g2, queen g4 just to protect the rook, and pressuring e4. They played rook takes c3, and after h4, they're just losing. They resigned here, it looks like, because after pawn takes g3, rook takes b7, there's rook h2, king g1, and where's the killing blow? I think it's probably queen f3 with multiple threats. Lots of things going on here. Yeah, it is GG. Das Vidania, Bologan. But an interesting example of play with the heavy piece against two minor pieces, where the rook is doing better than the minor pieces. So our initial position was this one, right here. And here black played c4 and shut out that bishop. I think if white could get the bishop active, probably they would have much better chances, but they didn't manage. You're asking, do you have time for queen f3 in the final position? Okay, let's go there and just check it out quickly. All right, so if they play rook b8, check, I would have to play king h7. But if you just play like e5 check, I don't think there's any problem with g6. This should be lights out. I feel like I have time. Do you see any resource here? I'm looking for like a perpetual or something. But I think bishop g6, they could just take it with the king, maybe. They could also ignore it. That's kind of funny. King g7 should also lead to a mate. It's not necessary. But I think even if you take it with the king, you should be able to escape checks. Like rook b6 is met by king g7, and queen to b1 also met by king g7. I don't think there's any perpetual here. But it's good to question that.